Yeah, Brian, you get to come back to your home state as a head coach. How exciting is that for you?
Yeah, always exciting to get back home. So looking forward to obviously having some friends and family there at the game, but always good to get back.
Last time you played one of your state teams, of course, you beat the Sooners down in Fort Worth. How big was that for the program for Navy to beat Oklahoma?
Sure. Well, it was a great win for our program, and to have the opportunity to play them in a bowl game down there was huge for our team, and it was a great way to finish our season. It was a good confidence builder, and something certainly to build off of going into the off season for us. But yeah, it was a great win for our program, and yeah, I'm excited about the opportunity to go play back in Oklahoma and play a really good Tulsa team. So looking forward to the challenge.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, for those who just joined us, we're doing three questions each to start out with. Scott Wyckoff.
Yeah, Coach, what does it mean for you to be able to take a team like this that plays in your image back to Oklahoma, a team of the players that you've been around in this program for 7 years, to be able to take them back to your home state?
I really thought about that, Scott. I mean, it's just we obviously got a lot of pride in our program wherever we go. It is obviously it's unique getting to go back home. We don't get to do that very often, but I enjoy having Tulsa in our conference. A good program and opportunity to go back there every other year. When they're on our schedule, is certainly enjoy that and excited about getting down there.
What you've seen on film in the first two games for Tulsa and what you know of Trey Lamb, what's impressed you about the way his teams play?
Yeah, well, I think Trey's a excellent head coach and really, really good offensive mind. I think he's done a nice job, with his roster in a short amount of time there. And obviously, they're a work in progress. We're real impressed with what they've done so far. Impressed with what they've done on defense. Haven't given up a lot of points or yards. Been pretty stingy and like what they're doing schematically on defense. They're aggressive. They're similar to us. You're going to see multiple coverages, and they're going to try to create some negative plays and try to create some chaos. And they do a good job of that. And the personnel is good. Offensively, they've got some weapons. They've been really balanced the first two games and averaging almost 450 yards of offense and over 200 on the ground. And so they've done a lot of really good things. And they certainly present some problems schematically with what they're doing on both sides of the football. So it's going to be, we're diving into it now, getting ready to go out here in just a few hours. But a good football team. They're playing with some confidence right now, and some kind of renewed energy with the change and leadership there. And I think Trey's done a great job.
Talk about doing good things. Your offensive line, a lot of younger players in the lineup as the season started, but having to move around so many parts for the first two games. How impressed have you been with the way that they've responded to the situation they've been in?
Yeah, I've been pleased, Scott. I think the improvement from week one to week two was what I hoped to see, and certainly was there. I thought the effort and the physicality was really good with the O-line, and I've been impressed with the way we've handled some. It's been a little bit of musical chairs in that room and trying guys out different positions and trying to find a way to get our best five on the field. But I was really pleased with the way they played on Saturday and expect those guys will continue to get better.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Scott.
Reminder, if you just joined us, we're doing three questions each to start. If you're new to the Zoom, if you're not a weekly participant, please introduce yourself along with your media entity as well. Wyatt Kopelman.
Hi, Coach Newberry. Wyatt Kopelman here. I'm the co-host of a new college sports podcast called Broadway to Broadway. I'm not in the Annapolis area right now. I'm actually down in North Carolina for work, but pleasure to have the opportunity to cover Navy football. I guess going back to the first couple games of the season here offensively, Blake, he found the end zone twice on Saturday. Alex piled up 111 rushing yards. How would you assess the offense's comfort so far in year two under Drew?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fairly pleased. I think there's certainly room for improvement in a lot of areas, but you go back and you look at Saturday. I mean, we were really efficient. When the drives did stall out, if you go back and look, we're 3rd and 2 down near the goal line, and we jump off sides, puts us in 3rd and 7, and we can't convert it. End up taking a field goal there. Another time we're driving and we have an errant pitch on the ground for a pretty big loss, puts us behind the sticks. And on another drive, we get a holding call, puts us in 1st and 20. And those are the only drives that stalled out. Were the ones where we had, a penalty, all right, or we put the ball on the ground or had a bad snap. And so outside of that, I thought we were really efficient with our offense and been pretty balanced. And we have to go run the football, and we've been able to do that effectively. And then, when we do take shots, we want to be efficient throwing the ball. And I think we've been really efficient. I think Blake's run the offense well, making good decisions. And so I've been pleased.
And you mentioned how well Blake has run the offense. How much of a product do you think this offense's harmony or early on success is it of his leadership so far, both in the locker room and in film?
Yeah, I'd say a huge part of it, Wyatt. 2nd year in the offensive system, and a lot of skill guys around him that returned from a year ago as well. The majority of the new players are on the offensive line, right? So, and that's group starting to gel, and they'll continue to get better as the season goes. But yeah, his leadership and his knowledge of the offense, is in a better place than it was a year ago, naturally. And so, been pleased with his decision making and his leadership for sure.
And with 12 first-time starters, the most in the country this season, how have you seen that group kind of handle the moment and all the experience it's already been thrusted into?
Yeah, well, the majority of those wide are on the defensive side of the football, and I thought that showed a little bit this past Saturday. Just lack of experience, lack of live game reps, and saw a pretty challenging offense, with UAB and some of the things that they were doing. And it exposed some things that we need to address in regards to communication, 11 guys being on the same page and, handling some of that stuff better. It's a talented group, and it's a group that I know will bounce back, and they'll continue to get better every week, like young players do, like inexperienced players do. But like I said, it's a talented group, and I expect to see improvement, much like I'm talking about the offensive line from week to week, with our defense as well.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Before we go to Wags, it was brought up, Cody Howard, 65-yard catch. I have not found a tight end who has a longer catch. Obviously, for years, we did not have a tight end. Someone brought up Dave Rottenbach in 1999. His was 56 yards. That was against Akron and thrown by Brian Broadwater. But I've not found one longer than 65. Still looking. Kevin Hickman in the early 1990s is a possibility. But so far, Cody's is the longest I've been able to find. Wags.
Coach, can you talk a little bit more about the Tulsa offense? I believe Trey Lamb is a disciple of the air raid. Can you talk about what they're doing? I believe it's up tempo. Are they no huddle, going quickly? I know they want to get the ball out quick. Can you just kind of talk a little bit more about what you see in their offense?
Yeah, he certainly likes to throw the ball. I know that, but it feels like they've got to run the ball to be balanced, and they have been very balanced. But yeah, you're going to get some tempo. You're going to get a lot of formations, some motion in and out of empty, and some FIB, and all the things that are problematic when you're trying to defend offenses. But like I said, he's a pretty brilliant offensive mind, and has had success, everywhere he's been, calling the plays, and I think he's done a nice job with that offense so far these first 2 games. So it's going to be a challenge for us. There's no question. Get some good players too. I like the running back a lot. Dominic, a receiver, Zion Booker is a really good player as well. So they've got some really talented, skilled players, and they've got, I think 2 quarterbacks that can deliver the ball where it needs to go. So they're a good offense, and we're going to have our hands full defending them this week for sure.
And what kind of scheme are they employing defensively? I see they have co-defensive coordinators, Reardon and Gray. What are you seeing? What do they like to do defensively?
Yeah, I think Josh Reardon is a really good coordinator. He's been with Trey for a little while and does a really nice job. Like I mentioned earlier, they're structured a lot like us. They'll get into 4 down with one of their guys being a hybrid, like our Raider is. So ability to get into an odd front and even front, they'll mix those up a little bit. But you're going to see some zone pressure and some man pressure, and they're going to mix their coverages up in the back end, and so they do a really nice job, present some problems, and Of course, you never know exactly how they're going to line up, against us, and we got to be able to identify that early on. And I'm sure they're going to mix it up some too. But the big thing we have to do is avoid negative plays, on Saturday.
You had mentioned you'll have family there. Do you know at this point who will be there? Are your parents going to drive over? Maybe your brother, I think, is still in Oklahoma area.
Yeah.
Who might be there?
Yeah. So yeah, my mom will be there. My sister Sarah, brother Matt will be there as well. Brother-in-law and nephew and a couple of friends from high school, a couple of old coaches. So excited to hopefully get a chance to see them, before or after the game.
Thanks.
Kyle Wood.
Hey, Coach, Kyle Wood, Athlon Sports. We got to talk a little bit in the lead up to the season. Just wanted to ask you with the team road opener, what kind of preparation and changes are you all going about? Kind of preparing to hit the road for the first time this season.
Yeah, Kyle doesn't really change anything for us in our approach during the week. Obviously, got to fly out on Friday, but we practice on Friday, so we'll practice here, and we'll have to practice in the morning before we go. But nothing really really changes for us as far as our preparation, and I think our guys kind of enjoy going on the road. As much as we love playing at home here in our stadium, it's good to get away sometimes, and we got to go be some road warriors this weekend.
Yeah.
Our first road trip.
Speaking of road warriors, conference play starting last week for Navy, but I'm kind of curious what degree you all are attuned to success of some of the other teams around the American. Of course, South Florida picking up a big win over Florida over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean we're so focused on the next one around here, and being 1-0, but yeah, of course I follow the other teams, and pretty impressed to see what South Florida's been able to do in their first two games, obviously, and then seen Army get a big win over Kansas State. Those are great wins for our conference to see that, and it just goes to show you how competitive this conference is, and how much better it's getting. And so yeah, we'll follow everybody around the league, and there's some good wins, over the weekend.
Yeah, and last thing, just kind of wanted to expand on that, just the kind of what that means for the reputation of the conference. It's a continuation of how you all ended the season last year, and then just kind of proving yourselves against non-conference opponents like that.
Yeah, it's really good to have success against the non-conference opponents, especially some of the Power Four schools, early on in the year, and that bodes well for our conference later on when you're talking about the champion of our conference getting into the playoff. And so it's just important. These games are all important.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome, Kyle.
Tim Nolan.
Hey, Coach, going back to some of those sophomores who've really started off strong, how does your program as a whole prepare some of those third-class guys to step up and thrive here in the early going?
Yeah, it was hard. It's hard to play here as a freshman. You come in here and play summer, and you get thrown right into camp, and really hard to play your first year. And so that the growth that you see, after the freshman year, in the off season, going through spring ball and fall camp, that's probably where you see the most growth occur in our program in the course of their time here. And so that we've had a lot of sophomores. There's always some surprises. There's always some guys that make tremendous strides in that first year and put themselves in a position to play. But we develop them just like we do everybody else. Of course, the freshman year we're doing some developmental stuff, for those guys that aren't playing, and trying to take advantage of the time and in the weight room, and playing a JV schedule and things like that. So we do as good of a job as we can developing those guys when they're not playing, so that when they get to be a sophomore or junior, that those guys are ready to roll.
Throughout my early time here working with this program, whether it was listening to Phil and Mark Anthony on Saturday, crediting Landon, Griffin Willis earlier this year, it seems like every single player points to him unconditionally, saying how, this guy is a true leader. What is it about the way that he leads that defense in this team? I mean, it's not like we're asking them questions about Landon. They say it without anybody prompting them.
Yeah. Well, he's a great player, Tim, and an even better person in the way he treats his teammates. I think you can point to his work ethic, his attitude, the way he comes out to work every day, and leads in a positive way. And Landon's not afraid to get after somebody, but But he's also gonna call it the guys that are doing things the right way. And it's just a great leadership style that he has. And if as you know, Tim, you talk to him for 5 minutes, you automatically like him. He always got a smile on his face, always a great attitude, always optimistic, and he's a dog on the field.
Lastly, you're kind of tying in your background in Oklahoma. What was the one singular moment maybe that kind of guided you toward this profession and the ultimate role you have now?
One singular moment, I don't think there was one, Tim. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't grow up wanting to necessarily be a coach. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Some funny stories about that when I got to college and what I thought my major was going to be. But and I was pondering what I want to do and really couldn't decide. And my high school coaches were phenomenal, outstanding, and had a huge impact on me, and that always stuck with me. And that's probably the main reason why I got into coaching. The combination, not sure what I want, not knowing what I wanted to do for sure, and the impact that those guys had on me that kind of led me in that direction. But there was no singular moment. I think my first graduate assistant job, I was kind of testing the waters to see what that was going to be like while trying to work on a master's degree, and figured I'd kill two birds with one stone, and just kind of fell in love with the coaching piece of things, um, and kind of took off from there.
Thank you.
All right, back to the legendary Barry Trammell at the Tulsa World.
Legendary is right.
Hey, I should have told you, Brian. I was actually on the campus of Westmore last week. My granddaughter had a softball game.
Yeah.
So
how the Jaguars doing this year?
They're struggling on the football field.
Are they?
They fired their coach.
Did they at least beat Moore?
No.
But
they fired their coach like a month ago. Something not good. I forgot what it was, but
that's disappointing to hear.
Yeah. Anyway, on the last year when we talked, you talked about how Navy is a little bit immune to all the changes in college football. You're affected, but less than anybody else, virtually, you and Army and Air Force. Things change so fast since we talked. All kinds of stuff has come down the pike. Is that still the case? Is there anything that's popped up that affects the Navy program? Or are you guys sort of still sailing along business as usual?
Yeah, no, I think that's still the case. Still sailing along, business as usual. We're say this all the time. We're a unicorn in college football right now, and I think the recent success is can be credited to a lot of things, but I think you're seeing how important culture is, which is really hard to develop the right way right now in a lot of places. You think about, if you go to the University of Oklahoma, every semester your team's going to look entirely different. You're there for 4 years and you're almost playing on 8 different teams essentially. And so it's hard to build camaraderie, hard to build culture. I'm not saying it's impossible, Barry, and a lot of coaches are doing a great job doing it. But I do think it's more difficult. And I think these guys, they get here, they stick it out together, they go through a lot of hard things together. And there's a bond and a trust and an unselfishness that we have in our program that I think is hard to replicate at other places. Transfer portal, that I talked about this a lot, is helping us. High school players aren't getting as many opportunities, as they used to. And I think that's helping us. There's better players out there, more players available, and so it's allowing us to be a lot more selective about the guys that we take from an athletic profile, from a character profile, and all those things. And I think that's going to start to pay off for us. And we're certainly not immune to the transfer portal as far as guys can leave here, but we've been fortunate, and that hasn't happened. We didn't lose a single kid in the portal last year that played a snap for us. I think that speaks to the way we're doing things in our program and how we're recruiting the right type of guys, and speaks to the value of a degree from the Naval Academy and the brotherhood here. So it's a special place. It's a unique place, and I'm certainly glad I'm here.
Do you think there will always be a place for a Navy in the upper levels of college football?
Absolutely. I hope so. I think we're uniquely positioned right now to take a big leap forward. I think there's been kind of a narrative around academy football and Navy football and what the ceiling looks like for those programs and I want to shatter that expectation here, and I think we're on our way to doing that. And for us to position ourselves as one of the top group of 5 teams in the country is a very realistic goal, as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Barry.
A legend in Annapolis and on the mean streets of Baltimore, Scott Wyckoff, WBAL Radio.
Yes, sir. What did it mean, Coach, to have Philip Hamilton step up in the second half and to be a part of 2 turnovers with the way the defense played in the second half?
Yeah, it was great to see another young player, guys that playing in his second, college football game. He's a good football player. He's a competitor. He's a fiery young man, and what was really impressive to me, Scott, is he didn't play well in the first half. And a couple of pass interference calls, and just didn't play well. And for that kid to come out and the motto around here is want to know and put the last play behind you, move on to the next one, whether it's good or bad. And he was able to do that as a young player. That's pretty impressive to me, and also impressed with the way that our staff and his teammates lifted him up. During those times when he didn't make a great play or had a penalty, and stayed with him, and so I think it speaks to kind of the way that we approach things around here and the attitude and just that mentality that we play with. But I was really pleased to see him make plays. He's a guy that's going to continue to make a lot of plays for us, Scott. He's a smart, savvy football player and ultra competitive.
Could that have been one of the greatest halftime coaching jobs ever by Coach Volker, with less than 10 minutes to get in there, get his message, and get him back out there?
Yeah. Well, I think we had 3 or 4 half times during that game. It felt like, and so having a 10-minute halftime, by the time we got up there, it was a quick message and turned around, came right back out. So it wasn't much of a halftime. Probably didn't even need to go in for halftime, truthfully. But yeah, I mean, the messages were the same, because we had 3 or 4 breaks there and didn't feel like we were playing well on defense, and just trying to get those guys settled down and dialed in. And obviously came out, in the second half of the game and played much better on that side of the football. Not perfect by any stretch, but found ways to get off the field. And it's a gritty group, man. They got a lot of pride, and they're not going to lay down for anybody, and they're resilient. They're going to make mistakes, but they're going to bounce back, learn from them.
You've got one player on your depth chart from Oklahoma. Does this help when it comes around in the cycle, when you play in a market like in Oklahoma, and give your coaches a better opportunity to maybe get into some doors to some players?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, it does. Whether you're playing in Texas or Oklahoma or the other states where, have teams in our conference. But, what's pretty neat, Scott, is that, Torrance Smith started for us at center. I played with Brad Smith, Torrance's dad, at Westmore High School. And so, and Brad played at Tulsa. I don't know if you knew this, Barry, but I'm sure this is going to be a pretty big homecoming for his family. I mean, pretty neat deal that his son's starting against his alma mater on Saturday. But yeah, it's definitely great to go back to Oklahoma and need to play in state and get that exposure, because Oklahoma's a great football state. We'd like to get more players out of Oklahoma than we have, and we've got several in our program right now. But Torrance is an example of just one of the good ones.
Have a good trip.
Thanks, Scott.
Wyatt.
Yeah, going back to how well the run defense performed on Saturday, Brian, how much do you think that's something this team, particularly this unit, especially the blend of experience it has, can translate into this weekend with another conference game here?
Yeah, I certainly hope it translates. I mean, that's where it all starts for us on defense wide is stopping the run. The thing that I was disappointed in on Saturday is the lack of disruptive negative plays in the run game, and it really came down to executing some of the pressures and the stunts and the movements up front that we didn't do a great job of, that likely would have created some more negative plays. And so got to stop the run, get people behind the sticks, and we've done a decent job of that in the first 2 games, and hopefully we'll continue to get better at that. But that's where it all starts for us, our ability to run the football offensively and to be able to stop it on defense.
When the team like this faces a quarterback like Kitna, who had SEC experience a few years back at Florida, how much does that help from exposure perspective with it still being so early in the season?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, we play like against a lot of good quarterbacks, in this league. But for these new players, to go against a guy like that was a great experience for us, and hopefully that'll make us better moving forward.
And this team, it didn't trail on Saturday, if I'm correct, and continue to face adversity, particularly in the second quarter. When a team can bounce back from that, as you said, 3 or 4 locker room breaks or visits, you have a weather delay as well. How much do you think that says about this team's ability to handle change and a little bit of adversity at this point?
Yeah, I think it says a lot. And we talked the night before the game about there's going to be some adversity, and you got to welcome that. And as a team that's got so many new players, um, you want to face some of that stuff early on in the season. And so I was pleased the way that we overcame some of that. Not just the game itself, but the weather delays, and how the guys stayed locked in and focused, and kind of handled that situation. Was proud of that part of it. So that's going to serve us well moving forward.
What do you think resonated with them in terms of the message you had in the locker room, as well as Coach Volker as well?
Um, I thought the coaches did a great job. We were frustrated on the defense side of football, but you can't let that frustration carry over too much in the locker room, right? Your approach on game day to me has got to be a little different than it is during the week of practice. And so you got to calm them down. You got to make your corrections. You got to keep them locked in, and they were, and you got to make sure they don't get too down on themselves, because you make a mistake, or you have a couple of bad series or a couple of bad plays. You got to be able to bounce back, as part of the game. And I was pleased with the way our guys responded after a rough first half.
Thanks, Brian.
You got it.
Wags.
I did not see when Cody Howard got injured. When did that happen? What, and how is he?
Yeah, he's doing much better. Obviously, we were concerned. Anytime the neck's involved, it's a little scary. But he's doing really well. Not sure when he's going to be back, but he's doing much better. So it happened on a play in the game where he was blocking, and the guy he was blocking kind of headbutted him. Obviously, I thought it was kind of a dirty play, and that was where he kind of got injured right there. I was able to walk off the field and everything, but had some side effects after that were concerning. So we did the safe thing, and got him seen quickly.
So not likely to play at Tulsa?
Yeah, I would say not likely.
And did you have any other injuries in the UAB game?
Yeah, some minor ones. Expect everybody else to be ready to go, though.
So I was going to ask you about Torrin Smith. Did Brad contact you asking you all to recruit Torrin, or were you well aware of Torrin? How did it evolve that he came to the academy?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if we found him first, or Brad and I had a conversation. It might have been Brad and I having a conversation. And hey, take a look at my son, and liked his film a lot. And, Torrin's slightly undersized, but made up for it by the way that he played. And Brad himself was a heck of a player in high school, and ended up being a starter at Tulsa. Was an undersized guy as well, but just one of those guys that played extremely hard and was physical and smart. And Torrance cut from the same cloth. So, but I think he might have hit me up about Torrin. It was a while back, and I'm glad he did. Glad to have him in our program.
Was Brad an offensive lineman as well?
Sure was. Yeah, Brad was a year younger than me. Was a great player for us at Westmont.
And does Torrin remind you a little of Brad in any ways, either playing style or his personality?
Yeah, the playing style, probably more than anything. Has Brad's heart. Loves football, tough, smart, plays really, really hard. He's a fighter. All those qualities that Brad had, back in high school, and still does.
All right, thanks, Coach New.
You're welcome.
I'm going to try to get Torrin on the Zoom this week, but his Tuesday and Thursday class schedule was rough, so it didn't work out. Kyle Wood.
Only at the Naval Academy.
Exactly. He had 1 through 6 both days.
Yeah.
That is tough. Just wanted to ask you about Blake's just kind of efficiency as a passer and just kind of what hitting on some of those big plays, kind of how that unlocks the offense. I'm sure 6 completions, 160 yards, you'd take that any day.
Yeah, that's called being efficient, right there. And when you want to establish the running game like we do, and we're going to run the majority of the time, when you do throw it, you want to be efficient, and you want to make good decisions and take care of the football. And that's one thing I've been really pleased with is 0 turnovers. In the first game, that's a big credit to Blake and the decisions that he makes. So we talk about when we do take shots, we got to be efficient, and then there's also layups, hitches, little routes in the flat, things like that we got to make, and he's done a great job with that. But he's obviously a really accurate passer. He makes the right reads. There are a couple of reads in the run game and the option game that he missed on Saturday, which I'm sure he's not happy about. But outside of that, he's played um, pretty flawlessly in the first 2 games. Also, only played a half, versus VMI. But I've been really pleased with just the way he's operated things and decisions that he's made and how he's taking care of the football.
And what do you want to see from the defense this week? I know that's come up a couple times on this call already. Just
Yeah.
as far as improvements.
Right. Well, the communication piece, having 11 guys be on the same page, which we were not the entire time on Saturday, was the thing that was most disappointing for me. And then we get back to some of the technique and the fundamentals, weren't great. So if you're unsure about what you're doing, you're not communicating effectively. You don't know what's going on around you. It doesn't bode well. So I think just the communication and playing with better technique fundamentals of the tackling on Saturday was poor. Some of the angles that we took, and that's something we've been really, really good at, and something we work on a ton. But just the basic fundamentals and technique of the things that we're doing, and then just all being on the same page.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Speaking of Blake's efficiency, his pass efficiency rating of 172.6 is 14th all time in the FBS for quarterbacks with 150 or more attempts in their career. Joe Burrow is 15th. Tim Nolan.
Coach, just one more from me. Your program now 2-0 in consecutive years for the first time in 8 seasons. How pleased are you with the way that this program has just embraced this expectation to win?
Really pleased. We always talk about getting off to a fast start. So, I think we've been able to do that the last 2 years. And so, yeah, I'm pleased. Yeah, it's better than being 1-1 or 0-2 for sure, Tim, right? So, yeah, no, I'm excited about, the first 2 games. I think, we've got a long way to go. We're still a work in progress. And, having 12 new starters, I mean, we've got to, we got a long way to go, but we'll continue to get better every week. And these kids, they work and they want to be good. It's important to them, and we've got great coaches on our staff. And so I just want to see us progress, week to week to week, and see where that takes us.
Thank you.
We got about 3 minutes. Barry, do you have anything else you want?
No, I'm good. I appreciate the opportunity.
Wags, you have anything? That's within 3 minutes. All right, we're good.
All right. Good to see you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Take care.